there, John Hively here with Oligarch News here on June 2nd, 2025. So I'm going to show you a photograph and I'm going to ask you, what does it represent? What is it a photograph of? Okay, so what is this a photograph of? So if you say it looks like a child, you're right. If you say it looks like a starving child, you're right. If you say it looks like a starving Palestinian child, you're also right. But the fourth answer is also correct. And the fourth answer is this starving Palestinian child is your tax dollars at work. And there are reportedly 290,000 emaciated Palestinian children in Gaza. And that represents your tax dollars at work. But it also represents something else, which I will reveal later. It represents a lot of things, but I'm going to reveal the other most important thing later. So the United States commits $3.8 billion a year to Israel as part of and I'm reading here, as part of a memorandum of understanding signed in 2016. This agreement, negotiated by the Obama administration, represents the largest such commitment between the U.S. and Israel and continues similar agreements from the Clinton and Bush administrations. This aid includes $3.3 billion in military funding and $500 million for missile defense. However, it's quite a bit more than that. In April 2024, the Biden administration committed another $14 billion to Israel. Let me see it here. Let me see it. This is straight from the American Jewish Committee. And that's it. They gave in another $14 billion to Israel to wipe out Palestinians. And there's a real good reason why they want to wipe out Palestinians. But first, let's get into more of what your tax dollars are doing in Gaza. A good man named Bill Megorian sent me this video. So let's take a look at what this video has to say.
Children are supposed to be protected. In Gaza, these protections are simply gone. Every day, the distinction between combatant and civilian is erased. Most of my patients were preteen children, their bodies shattered by explosives and torn by flying metal. Many died. Those who lived often awoke to find their entire families gone. Last year, I published in the New York Times a survey of 65 American healthcare workers who had served in Gaza. 83% of them reported seeing children shot in the head or the chest. I personally treated 13 such cases in my 2 weeks at European Hospital. According to the War Child Alliance, nearly half of Gaza's children are suicidal. They ask, why didn't I die with my sister, my mother, my father? Not out of extremism, but out of unbearable grief. I wonder if any member of this council has ever met a 5-year-old child who no longer wants to live.
Of course, the Israelis are also targeting Palestinians heading for aid stations controlled by Israelis. So let's take a look at what Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! Is saying about this. This is recent news and has been reported all over, but it is part of a bigger story that hasn't been reported.
I'm Amy Goodman. Health officials and witnesses in Gaza say at least 31 people were killed Sunday when Israeli forces opened fire on crowds headed to an Israeli-controlled aid distribution point near Rafah. Over 170 people were wounded. Israel has denied responsibility. This is a Palestinian woman named Asma Abu Salah speaking in a hospital room next to her brother-in-law who'd been shot while trying to get aid.
You can see his condition. He's between life and death. He went for food and drinks for his children. His children need food. They say, "We want food, Dad." This is the most difficult word. As you can see, here he is.
The attack came a day after the UN humanitarian agency described Gaza as the hungriest place on earth. and accused Israel of, quote, drip feeding food into an area on the verge of catastrophic hunger, unquote. We're joined in Gaza now by two guests. We begin with Dr. Victoria Rose, a British senior plastic and reconstructive surgeon with the National Health Service in Britain, who's volunteered in 3 medical missions to Gaza since October 7th, 2023. She's joining us from Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, where she's been treating patients injured in the attack near that aid distribution center in Rafah. Dr. Rose, thank you for joining us again. Can you explain what the injuries were, who you saw that came out of that attack, as people were told by quadcopters to go to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to get aid?
So it apparently started very early in the morning because we woke up to it. What had happened is the centre doesn't open till I think it's 7 or 8. And a lot of the Palestinians had tried to get there as early as they could to get to the front of the queue. So the crowds were gathering at about 2 a.m. There was apparently shooting of the crowds as they were unable to control them. And then we started to receive the casualties here at Nasser from about...
It's also been reported that that at least 1 tank opened fire on that crowd. Now, let's get back to that photograph of that child that I showed you at the beginning. So we know this is a child, this picture here, this photograph, a starving child, a Palestinian child, and your taxpayer dollars at work. But you need to also understand he represents, his starvation, his death, represents corporate profits in the United States for the oligarchs who rule here. So the billionaires are not only declaring war on behalf of corporate profits on U.S. citizens, but all over the world, and it's been going on forever. So let's take a look at some of the other things, well, that we can look at with regard to this. So here it says, this is the AI overview. Multiple reports on June 2nd, 2025 highlight the dire situation of Palestinian children facing starvation in Gaza. Acute malnutrition. UNICEF reports a drastic increase in acute malnutrition among children in Gaza, particularly in the north, where 31% of children under 2 were acutely malnourished in March 2025. Over 71,000 children under the age of 5 are projected to require urgent treatment for acute malnutrition in the coming months. Israel's blockade of Gaza and restrictions on aid deliveries has significantly worsened the humanitarian crisis and contributed to food insecurity. A new U.S.-backed organization, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is responsible for distributing aid, but its methods have been criticized for leading to chaos and violence, including mass casualties, which we covered with Dr. Amy Goodman, at aid distribution sites. Multiple Palestinians were killed and injured while seeking food aid. It's like a hunter. You put some food out because you want to shoot the bear. The bear comes for the food, and then, I'm not seeing you, you shoot it. That's what's really going on. It's called mass murder. Anyway, the UN and other aid organizations have condemned the situation and urged for an independent investigation into the incidents at aid distribution sites. They also call for an immediate and independent investigation into these events. Humanitarian organizations face significant challenges in delivering aid due to the ongoing conflict, damaged infrastructure, restrictions on essential supplies, and security risks, including attacks on aid convoys and staff. In summary, as of June 2nd, 2025, Palestinian children in Gaza are facing a severe humanitarian crisis marked by increasing malnutrition and starvation, exacerbated by aid blockades and challenges in distributing essential supplies, including shooting the people coming for the aid. The international community is urging for immediate action to address this crisis and investigate the incidents at aid distribution sites. And you can see the headline down here. Israel and this is from truthout.org. Israel military massacres 31 starving Palestinians at U.S.-run distribution center. As I've mentioned, once the Palestinians have been removed by a mass starvation out of Gaza, and you know the West Bank is next. Anyway, for Gaza, what's going to happen is called the shock doctrine. Good book on it by Naomi Klein. Basically, you shock a people into moving out. Doesn't matter how they're forced out. And then you take their land and you build it. You build up their land into resorts and stuff like that so the rich can come along and have fun. So your U.S. taxpayer dollars are paying for the massacre of Palestinians and their removal and their ethnic cleansing from Gaza. And then hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be used by the U.S. government, are going to be allocated, it's going to be allocated to rebuild Gaza into some sort of fine resort for the wealthy or for who knows what. But it's going to be rebuilt, and it's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. And you're going to be paying for it. And you're not going to benefit at all. Only the billionaires are going to benefit, they and their corporations. And recall, I believe it's 69 to 100% of the income of the wealthy and the wealth of the rich are derived from the financial markets, stocks and bonds. And so, of course, if the government's constantly throwing money at it, just throwing money at it, printing up money, causing inflation, but throwing money at it, they're getting richer at your expense. Hey, this is John Hively. This is my report on what's really happening in Gaza. It's all about profits. It always has been about profits. If you took away the U.S. military aid to Israel, do you really think they'd be this mean and aggressive towards the Palestinians? Probably not. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Have a good night. We'll see you later. And please if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, and share. Send the message out. And remember, I have a battle plan. I know I haven't revealed it yet. Hopefully I'll have it out by late summer, but I'm working on the foundations to beat back the oligarchs who control the United States government. All right, have a good one. Thank you.